Alors, tout d'abord, cette vidéo s'appelle pas How I Learn French, mais plutôt How I Am Learning It, parce que évidemment le learning c'est toujours en cours. Mais je me disais que ce serait assez intéressant de partager avec vous pourquoi j'ai décidé d'apprendre le français, comment j'ai fait, et etc. Et raconter ma vie quoi. Ça fait combien de temps que j'ai commencé? Au début de 2018, je connaissais pas un seul mot de français et now it's not that much better honestly, and this is way too hard, so we're just gonna do the whole video in English. I didn't take French in high school. I took German for all 4 years in high school. And then in 2016, it was like my sophomore year in college, I decided to take a break from school because I was going through some stuff. My head wasn't really in a school kind of place. So I was just like, I'm gonna work full time for a bit, save up some money, and go take a trip. I'm gonna plan a trip around Europe because I had never been there. And I'm gonna go by myself because it was during the year like everybody else was working or in school. And I didn't want to wait for anyone, so I want to do it now. And so yeah, I did like a 3-month long trip going around visiting all the countries that I wanted to visit. And of those 3 months, I spent a whole month in England because it's my favorite country. Because I grew up obsessing over everything English, like the bands, architecture, history, TV shows, all that. And of course, while I was traveling, I was on Tinder because you gotta check out what dating is like in every country. And so during that month in England, I was in Liverpool for like a week and I matched with a French guy on Tinder. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I've never really met a French person in my life. Let's see what they're like. And so we talked for a bit and decided to meet up. It happened very fast because I mean, when you're traveling, you're not like gonna talk to this person for a week and then decide, oh, do I want to see them? Like, no, I'm only here for like 2 days, so let's meet up and do the talking in person. So we met up at a bar where he taught me my first French words. I learned how to conjugate manger, like je mange, tu manges, je mange. And oh, it was fun because, you know, there's that image of the French, like the French language and the people that you grew up with. And I'm just like, oh, cool, it's a real life French person teaching me French. And so yeah, after that, basically for the rest of my time in Liverpool, which was maybe like 3 or 4 more days, I moved out of the place I was staying and I just stayed with him. At the end of that week was Christmas and I was supposed to go to London and spend Christmas in London. But he was like, oh, we had such a great week. Why don't you, instead of spending Christmas alone, why don't you come with me and spend Christmas with my family and come to France? And I was like, yeah. Like, what an interesting turn of events. What an interesting proposition. And so I thought about it for a bit and was like, you know what, when, like, how many times does this happen in your life that you meet a foreign person in a foreign land and you get invited to their home country Christmas? And yeah, obviously the idea is very exciting, so I said, let's go for it. So I changed my ticket. Yeah, that was the end of my whole trip. I was supposed to come back to DC from London. I changed the ticket from Paris to DC, paid like $200 to do the change. But it's like, you know what, you're gonna have another $200 at some point. But this experience, it doesn't replicate. So yeah, you can always make more money, but you will not have the same experiences. And so yeah, I went to his hometown in the middle region of France in a tiny town called Amboise. And at that time, I had never even been to France. No, that's not true. I was in Germany and then I crossed the border just a little bit to Strasbourg. Let's just say I had never been to France. I pride myself in not having Paris as the first city I visited in France. And so there's this whole family. I think there was like 20 people, like grandma, grandpa, aunts and uncles, all the cousins and wives and husbands and dogs and cats. They're all speaking French. And of course I didn't know any French. I mean, I knew how to conjugate manger. It's literally just like all these people like blah, 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 talking, and I'm all lost, but then also very much like, ooh. Just imagine me like sitting there in this freaking family Christmas dinner of like 20 people in a whole ass different country, speaking a whole ass different language. I had to drink like a lot of wine. That's how I'm gonna get comfortable. Thank God the wine was very good. But yeah, anyways, after that, my big 3-month trip was over and it was time for me to enroll back in university. And after I returned to the US, the French guy and I ended up keeping in touch and even being in a relationship. That's right, a long distance relationship between France and US. I suggest that you don't go for something like that. So of course, when you're dating someone from another culture, speaking another language, you want to learn their mother tongue because, I mean, when they're talking to you in English, it's just like, that's not the real you. Like even right now, me speaking English is not my first language, so this is not the real me. It's like a different version of me, like I put a filter on my personality and my behavior to have this English speaking persona, but like I have a different persona when I speak Korean. So yeah, it's like I wanted to get to know him without the filter, the English speaking filter, you know? know, so. And also like he would leave me voice messages in French and write me letters in French even though I had no idea what the hell he was saying. It was just fun to listen to because it just sounded so nice. But like it would be even nicer to actually understand the content of what he's saying, you know? So I made some efforts to learn French. Very often your motivation to learn a language, I feel like, is another person. And we want to be able to communicate with them in the manner / method that they were brought up with. It formed their behavior, it formed their way of thinking, and it made them basically who they are now. It's how they learn to be a person.
Mind you, that even my motivation to improve in English when I was like 10, 11, 12 years old was because I was obsessed with English bands at the time, and I was watching like videos of their interviews and other stuff on YouTube, and I just wanted to understand it better and like relate to them, be closer to them.
And since I was now back in school, I decided to take advantage of the very expensive American university education and take some French classes at my uni. And so I took 1 year of French where I learned like all the basic grammar and stuff. But after that, once you've already learned all the rules and you already kind of know how the language works, I'm being told by many sources and also from my own experience of learning English as a second language that constant exposure and immersion is the way to go. And so what I did a lot at that time was watching movies and Netflix and also YouTube videos in French, and obviously with subtitles, and I would write down all the words that I find to be useful and also pay attention to like the context in which they say, like the situation, the tone they use, how they say it, what kind of voice they use, so that I could copy it. I wasn't living in France at the time, and so the only way I could be immersed and exposed to the language was through watching videos, which is why I was so enthused when Lingopie reached out to me and introduced me to their platform, which is doing exactly what I was doing. It's basically like Netflix, but enhanced for language learning. Sorry, let's take a look at it together. Bunch of videos. Which one are we going to choose? J'ai deux amours. That's typically French. Let's watch it. I hope there's no naked people in it because I don't think I can show that. Alright, so season 1, episode 1, 2, 3. So you can have the subtitles in French and English, or you can just turn English off if you're like advanced. And you have the entire script of the show, every single line of the show on the right side, and you can click to it to get there and play it. And every single part of the current line, you can click it and it shows you the translation. You can also have the famous Google Translate lady pronounce it for you if you want to clearly hear the
De te revoir.
And every single thing you click on gets automatically added to the flashcards that you can go to later and review. And another thing I really like, because I actually do this a lot when I watch Netflix in French, is you hear something and you're like, oh, so that's how you say that in that kind of situation, and you want to rehear it. You want to hear it again, so you want to go just back to just that part. They have just skip back to the previous line instead of like, you know, on Netflix, I don't know if it's like 10 seconds or 15 seconds. It goes and you have to watch like a whole last thing again when you really just wanted to hear this one tiny thing. Here you can just skip backward to the previous line, what you just heard, and play it over and over even.
Pourquoi tu m'agresses? Pourquoi tu m'agresses? Pourquoi tu m'agresses?
Like I, from my real life use cases, felt the need for these little features and they made it into a product, and I'm just like, ooh. Kind of wish I had thought of it first and made the product myself. And another really impressive part is like with Spanish, for each show you have the country where it's made, which is nice because if you want to learn their dialect, their accent, their like mannerisms, you pick the show by country. Colombia, Spain, Mexico. And we have like different categories just like on Netflix, like shorter shows, and then we also have movies, and they also have children's show if you are really beginner. And if you go to review and learn, for each show they'll show you all the words that you clicked on and you can go look at them. Well, I guess they're not really words, but more like chunks of a sentence. And what's really nice is that they're not just flashcards. They're flashcards with the scene where the thing was said, so you can remember like in what kind of context it was said in and stuff.
Ça m'a fait vraiment plaisir de te revoir.
It's so nice. Okay, but I know all of these. Sorry. And then you have the list version to see all of them in one place. So yeah, it's a very impressive product that I'm happy to have found. And I know that you guys are spending most of your free time not going out, but rather binge watching YouTube and Netflix at home. So why not use your free time to work on your target language? I mean, it doesn't even feel like work, you're just like watching shows. You can just try it out for free, but there's also a 65% discount of the annual subscription. But yeah, since that relationship, I had opportunities to visit different parts of France and really fell in love with it. And the more I get exposed to the French language, the more like little things that I find cute and makes me think like, oh, what a funny language. Sadly, I still don't speak it. I can understand very well. I'd say I understand anywhere between 80 to 90% depending on the context. I know enough words to be able to speak it, but it's just that I don't always know the right way to put the words together. And also I'm very perfectionist, but only with like dumb things. Of course, if I was perfectionist in every way, I'd be super successful by now. But sadly, no, I'm perfectionist with stupid shit. Like, I don't want to say de la when I should have said du, stuff like that. Every time I get to a word that I don't know the gender of, I switch to English because I feel like I sound stupid if I get it wrong. Here, I'm in a master, well, not here in Paris, but in Toulouse, I'm in a master program that's in English. All the classes are in English, the classmates speak English even if they're French, and I think I really should have gone for a French program. I think I really underestimated my ability to just adapt, like not underestimated my French, but my ability to, like, I would have been able to figure it out. I would have made so much more improvement in a year if I had just gone for a French program and really struggled. It would be a struggle, like every class I would have to make so much more effort, triple the effort, but in doing that I would have progressed a lot, I think, and it would have been possible. And so if you're looking into coming to France to study, I'd say go for a French program unless you're like a very beginner, because you'll be forced to improve a lot more than I did in a year. So what are my final thoughts? After graduating from college, I could have just stayed in the US and made much more money and enjoy my lack of healthcare. But then I wouldn't have all this beauty in my everyday life, like a beautiful office, beautiful streets, beautiful walk home. Like, guys, France is so aesthetic. And I also wouldn't have the excitement and the fear and the frustration of communicating in a language that I only started learning 3 years ago. Some things about living here are definitely shitty. Like, for example, people can be shitty in a way that's different from all the other countries that I've lived in. And there are days when I question my choice of moving here. But most days I'm thankful that I get to experience life here. I find it to be a genuinely beautiful country. And I think as long as I surround myself with people who are not dumb, I think I can have a life that I like here. That's where I just was, guys. I'm the last one left at WeWork. I just worked for my job until like 6:30 p.m. and then I was working on my video stuff for a few hours. Tomorrow, guys, is the 14th of July, le 14 juillet. So I don't work tomorrow. I actually did not know that one does not work. That was very dumb of me. It's a national holiday. I don't know why I thought I would work, but it's like a surprise weekend. It's like getting off work, just finding out that I don't work tomorrow. So I'm like, woohoo! My street is beautiful even when it's raining. Guess who's on weekend even though tomorrow's Wednesday? Casual drinking on a Tuesday. Casual chicken breast